past few days. Many of us are cranking up the heat, right? Maybe even lighting candles, fireplaces to keep warm. But that also means that your home is at increased risk of catching fire. Anybody can be a victim. So what can we do to keep our families and homes safe? So with everything we need to know, we're going to bring in Greg Marshall from the Philadelphia Firefighters and Paramedics Union. And so good morning, Greg. Thank you for taking the time. Very important information.
Morning, Nick. Thanks for having me.
All right, so I've been in the business for over 20 years. I know I'm dating myself, but every year during the winter, we report more and more house fires. It's something that is statistically proven. There are more fires during the winter months as people try to stay warm. And you have the statistics to prove that they actually increase in the winter months here in Philly as well, right?
Yeah, what we see is anytime that there's a need for heat, anytime that you have people in the house more often, you're going to have more fires. And unfortunately, right now, this is really our busy season. Yeah.
So we know installing smoke alarms and smoke detectors can prevent disaster. So what do we need to know about the installation and maybe checking the batteries to make sure that they're up and running?
So for smoke detectors, smoke rises, so you're going to want to have those at the ceiling level. You're going to want to have a minimum of one on every level. So that means the basement, first floor, second floor, third floor if you have one. That's a minimum. Ideally, we'd like to get them in the bedrooms as well.
Okay, and that's a good reminder at the bare minimum, every level of the house. Okay, so you also have some important tips here to keep our homes and families safe. They're on the screen right now. So go ahead. Let's do the first one. Have a smoke detector, as you said, on every floor. That's the bare minimum again, right?
Absolutely. Like I said, we'd like to get them in every bedroom as well. We want to make sure that those are working. So if they're chirping, that means that there's a problem either with the battery or with the smoke detector itself. So you want to check the batteries. If it's still chirping, you want to get rid of the smoke detector and get a new one.
Now, Greg,
yeah.
Greg, we've typically heard also that you might want to change the batteries each season. So in the spring and in the fall, is that adequate, or do you want to also make sure that, you know, again, the chirping that you referred to?
Yeah, you definitely want to change them anytime that they're chirping. That means that the battery there's an issue with it, or at a minimum at each time that what we recommend is that when you set the clocks back or ahead. It's a good time to check them in and change them out. Yeah. Exactly.
So we're going to go right into tip 2 there. That's keep the doors of your bedrooms closed, right? Talk a little bit about that.
So what we see is when the door is closed, you'd be amazed at the difference between the door being closed and the door being open in a house fire. If the door's closed, that's going to buy you 15, 20 minutes, even more. Even a lightweight hollow frame door is going to buy you a significant amount of time in the case of a fire. It's going to create a survivable space, and 15 to 20 minutes, we're going to get to you and we're going to put the fire out probably easily within that time. Yeah.
So very important. Okay, let's go to the next tip there. If we can bring up the screen one more time, because I cannot remember what the tips were. Don't overload extension cords. This is a big one, right? Because people have a tendency to kind of load those strips, those power strips, even though you can get power from those strips, and they do have all those slots for those wires. It's not recommended that you use all of them, correct?
Right. Extension cords are meant to be a temporary fix. They're not meant to be permanent. And what we see is electrical for us is one of our big causes of fires. So we want to make sure that we're not overloading those extension cords. We want to have things plugged into directly either into the outlet or on a surge protector. Yeah.
Right. And they had those surge protectors. They will go out if they get that surge, correct?
Yeah, that's going to give you that protection. Sure. Absolutely. All
right, one more tip, if we can bring it up. Know where everyone will meet up. Have a plan is so important. Can't state this enough, right?
Absolutely. It's not going to do us any good if people get out and then go back in looking for family members or pets or anyone that's in the house. We want to make sure that everybody gets out and stays out. Yeah. And so ideally, you want that meeting place to not be directly in front of the house, because if there's a fire, that's where we're going to be. A lot of ladders, a lot of hoses, a lot of firefighters. So you ideally pick a spot removed from the house a little bit where everybody knows that's our spot.
Yeah, that's a very important point. All right, Greg, great information this morning. So important this time of year. Where can people go to get more information and maybe just kind of some of the things that you've talked about already? See some of those things.
So they can find us on Facebook, Philadelphia Firefighters and Paramedics Union, and on Twitter at IAFF22.
All right, Greg Marshall, thank you so much. Very important information, and certainly appreciate you being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me, and have a happy and safe New Year, Nick.
Absolutely. Everyone needs to be safe on this one. Okay, Greg, thank you. All right, still ahead, as we said on this Wednesday.